Welcome, fight fans. A regular is on with us right now. He's not on with us the way he used to be, but we're appreciative. Our guy, Mr. Eddie Hearn.
What's up, Eddie?
Well, I think you've lost a bit of interest in me.
No. I sounded a little salty right there, right?
Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
I think you both blaming each other. Right?
I mean, because Eddie's not a promoter; he's a celebrity
I'm like,
promoter.
hang on, I don't get invited like I used to. Well, it's not my fault, you know.
No, it's Tony and Addy. They're pulling you over here. These
Is
people.
No, I heard
podcast.
that Oscar started complaining that I was on too much, so you guys had to pull it back.
All right, listen, a lot to catch up on, Eddie. First off, I don't know if are you still in New Orleans? Are you back home? You fresh off the jet?
No, I'm in New York.
Oh yes, I forget.
Yeah, straight from New Orleans to New York. So that was a short trip, getting ready. It's a holiday here today, so it's a little bit quiet. And then tomorrow, all the media activities start for a massive weekend. Obviously, Edgar Berlanga's debut on DAZN with Matchroom.
All right, before we get to Berlanga, let's talk about Regis Prograis really quickly. First off, I'm hearing that Don King wants to do business with you and do a Broner Regis Prograis fight. Is there any truth to that? And are you open to that fight? That's question number one. And secondly, was it more so Regis Prograis' opponent that made that fight ugly? Did you notice the running, the clinching, and you didn't put that much onus on Regis?
I mean, firstly, we'll talk about Don King. I think he's definitely interested in Adrian Broner Regis Prograis fight. Rumor is he wants 465 million for Adrian Broner to fight Regis Prograis, but we'll see. I love Broner. It's definitely not a fight with targeting because there's Haney, there's Catterall, there's Matias, there's Ryan Garcia, there's all these guys that in my opinion sit before Broner, but Broner's still a big name and he would be a lot of fun. In terms of the fight, it was very disappointing. I think Regis was very honest in his assessment, which I think people liked. I was as well, because that's just the way it is. There's no point sugarcoating it. If I'm going to hype Regis Prograis up as the best 140 pounder in the world, if there's a poor fight and a slightly below par performance, you got to sit with it. And I thought it was a poor performance from Regis. Zorilla definitely didn't come to fight, and he was really disappointed. I hate when a fighter like that gets an opportunity of a lifetime. And by the way, Zorilla can really punch. Like, you could see it in there in the early rounds. When he let his hands go, he was very heavy-handed. Regis felt it, but then when Zorilla felt Regis's power, he just got on his bike, and it was so frustrating. But Regis did a lot of things that weren't good enough. He didn't cut the ring off well enough. He didn't close the distance well enough. And he knows all that. But in good news, he will be at the top of everyone's shopping list now at 140 pounds, well outside of Rolly Romero. Because I feel like before Saturday, I never really saw a lot of people mentioning Regis's name. He's like that guy. He's like, I think, he's dangerous. He's heavy-handed. He's got a good mentality. But I just feel like after Saturday, Devin particularly will want to have a shot at Regis Prograis. And I think that will help us matchmaking a big fight next.
Yeah, I can see that's the fight you're leaning to, Regis and Devin. I like that. And like you said about Regis's honesty at the end of that fight, I've never seen a fighter look back, no matter who was interviewing him, and say, hey, look at this where you got clipped right here. He really looked at the replay and said, yeah, it kind of looked like a knockdown right there.
Never in my life have I
ever. I have the utmost respect for Regis. So, but you're saying that maybe not Broner. I'm surprised to hear you say that, because Broner's a big name. But yes, Devin Haney and all those are the fights that make sense. He want belts, he want big names.
Broner definitely has value. I think for Regis, he's chasing a little bit of legacy, a little bit of greatness. Yeah. And I think there's guys that sit above the list. Obviously, Bill Haney was ringside. I'm seeing Devin this week. Yeah, they definitely want the fight. They feel that they can beat Regis Prograis. They would love to capture the WBC title. They would love to become a 2-division champion. So we'll see what happens.
When you say Devin Haney, Eddie, are we talking about Devin coming back home to Matchroom in a long-term deal, or are you just working on this one fight?
I'm not really bothered. Honestly, I feel like once you start introducing that, you're putting roadblocks up in a deal. Right. We don't want to lose the belt at Matchroom and DAZN, but if you're going to make a great fight, that's just part and parcel of. I feel like there's too much protection. I get a lot of criticism for you know, going back to Oscar, like every time one of our fighters loses, he like reacts to posts going, "Oh, more poor matchmaking from Eddie Hearn." It's like,
I saw that. Yeah.
Isn't that good matchmaking? Like, I mean, it might be poor matchmaking to protect a fighter, but isn't that good matchmaking for the fans and for the audience? I don't really understand it. So I think Regis can beat Devin. Now, after Saturday, Devin would be a big favourite. Right. But I'm willing to roll the dice. Like, and I don't have to necessarily have options on Devin because that's going to slow things down. Right. Now, if I've got a chance to make a great fight, we roll the dice.
I'm kind of surprised to hear you say you think Regis can beat Devin. I know you and Devin had a very, very good relationship. Like, you're very close. So to hear you say that, it's strange to me. There's something happening.
Listen, after Saturday, I'll make Devin the favourite in the fight. But Regis can beat Devin Haney. He believes he can beat him. Wow. And my job is not to necessarily start analysing and like making a decision of who beats who. My job is to provide the opportunity for the fighter and the team and the training team to decide what fights they want to take. Right? I'm looking at it and saying, all I care about is that's a great fight for the fans. That's a great fight for subscribers. Right? That's going to put bums on seats. That's a big night for Matchroom. The rest is up to the fighters. I can't get in there and start cherry pick. You know, Regis don't want to be cherry picked. He does. You saw against Zorilla, you're not going to see the best of him. You know, when he's in against that kind of opposition. And you know, there's a very interesting tweet or post from someone, you know, started saying, you look at these guys, even like Teofimo, who dropped down a level in between those fights and just didn't perform. And all of a sudden, they're in the deep end against elite guys. And you see the very best of him. I think Regis will be the same.
Yeah, I think it was kind of like Martin is just a tough fight. And Zorilla as well. Like I said before the fight, Zorilla is going to give him problems. He's a counterpuncher and he's fast. I knew that was going to happen.
But Eddie, you mentioned Teofimo Lopez. I'm glad you brought that up. I just saw him last week. And obviously, the statement he made about retirement, the first thing that he said was, I'm not getting paid enough, only $1 million. He's obviously unhappy at Top Rank. What's your take as a promoter? Is he being underpaid, looking in from the outside? And is there something that you can offer Teofimo?
I mean, he's definitely being underpaid in terms of what others are getting. But is he being underpaid in terms of not market, but commercial value? Because the reality is they couldn't sell out the small arena there. You know, I mean, you've got Edgar Berlanga in a non-title fight. He's going to sell that place out. It's going to be rammed on Saturday night. So you can't start saying he's worth all this money, but only sells 3,000 tickets in a massive fight against Josh Taylor. So, but after the performance, you know, don't forget this guy lost to George Kambosos. He came back with a couple of below par performances, but now he needs to be rewarded if he fights again, which we expect him to, for what he did, which was to be arguably the number one in the division and come through. And, you know, I don't see him retiring. I see this as a little bit of sort of games, if you like. You know, I found it strange when they said he'd vacated his belt. Obviously, we found out he hasn't. Right. So, you know, and I don't expect him to either. But definitely now he wants it his way, and he wants to make sure he gets paid.
Yeah, I believe he should be paid, but you're right. It has to be about your value. Okay, I want to switch to heavyweights. Malik Scott said Deontay Wilder might fight Andy Ruiz before, you know, a possible showdown with Joshua. Are you worried about that? Because Ruiz kind of spoiled things.
If Deontay Wilder is going to fight Anthony Joshua, he definitely ain't fighting Andy Ruiz. I mean, don't forget, look, we're nearly middle of June, right? We're coming up to July. Good point. AJ's trying to fight August 12th, and I think he will. Yeah. But we need to announce this week. Like, I don't believe Wilder and Ruiz are going to announce their fight anytime soon. Then there's no way that, you know, Saudi would let Wilder fight in back end of August or September before he fights Anthony Joshua in December. So no, I actually, I mean, subject to what Wilder does with Skills Challenge and Saudi Arabia, I'm actually not sure he'll fight in the interim. But I do not believe it will be Andy Ruiz. Might be wrong, but I'd be very surprised if he took that fight before Anthony Joshua.
How are those negotiations going, Eddie, in Saudi for this for, you know, this double header that people have been talking about for the last couple of months?
Well, they're going like every other negotiation I've ever had with Saudi, which is a little bit slow, but we get there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you
So
know, we've had
optimistic about that fight happening.
yeah,
While the
absolutely.
Joshua.
Like, look, when Prince Khalid and those guys tell me it's done, it's happening, I believe them, and I've seen that. I didn't believe them at first for the Andy Ruiz fight, but I quickly learned that, you know, these guys are real, and these guys want to make it happen. So we hope to get contractually everything signed off in the next 1 to 2 weeks with Deontay Wilder. We are trying to fight August 12th. I don't think that will be Dillian White, but we would like AJ to fight. He's been in camp for 4 weeks. He's training with Derek James. I think a fight before Wilder is going to be very beneficial for him. You know, coming off the Franklin win and coming off, you know, obviously working with Derek James. But we'll see. But
so what happened with Dillian White? Because you was throwing his name out there a lot.
Yeah,
before.
I just think, again, you know, talking about money and trying to find, you know, some middle ground. It's difficult. You know, obviously he has his perceived value in that fight. We have the number that we think is the right number. Obviously, AJ wants to get paid. You know, it's very difficult, and I just don't think financially, just being completely honest, we can reach a deal with Dillian White for that fight.
Yeah, dudes want to get paid too much money, but Rock, listen, let me switch gears real quick. You mentioned Oscar De La Hoya. I have to get your opinion on this whole legal issue with Ryan Garcia. I mean, some say it looks like he could be done with they're blaming each other for breaching the contract. Give me your opinion on how's that. Do you think that they reconcile? Do you think it's over for Ryan Garcia and Golden Boy?
I mean, firstly, he seems to be more concerned with me than Ryan Garcia. You know, every tweet that comes off his account is about me. And you know, I think listen, I think one thing we know for certain, the relationship between those two, you know, it has been volatile for a while, but it's over. You don't come back from this. You know, you don't come back from public shaming, if you like, on social media, from courtroom, from legal costs. I've never known an instance where it's been this deep, where everyone just shakes hands and says, yeah, let's just go back to work.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I don't know. You know, I've read the court, you know, papers that we've seen issued. It looks awfully messy. Ryan Garcia clearly doesn't want to be with Golden Boy Promotions.
Would Ryan Garcia somebody that you'd be interested in promoting? If
listen,
some people
Ryan
say
Garcia,
die already,
and he's going to be there with open arms like this.
Gone. Yeah, but also, listen, the answer is yes, but the answer is he's gone. He's made his move.
Right.
You know, it's not. I've never had one conversation with Ryan Garcia or Guadalupe about Ryan Garcia. Right.
Right.
This is not something that he's just decided to do. Woke up one morning. They have a plan. They've been talking to people. They've made their decision about what they want to do, and it's not Matchroom.
Yeah, probably PBC, obviously.
Yes, absolutely. Right. So, you know, we know the links there. And now it's going to be up to the courts to decide whether he's able to do that, whether he was right to do that. And it's going to be a horrific mess. And it's going to cost everyone a lot of money. And it's going to be very frustrating. And it might keep people out the ring. But he's made his move. And Golden Boy have made their move. And it's a bad look for everybody. Obviously, for Golden Boy to lose Ryan Garcia
and
would be horrendous. Yeah, I mean, same. So obviously everybody wants to protect their legal position.
Right.
I'm staying out of it. I wish everyone the best. I hope everybody can be happy.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about the face of boxing, Canelo. You know, there's a lot of talks about Jamal Charlo. You know, people want to see him fight Benavidez. Then they was talking Badu Jack. Do you have any insight on what we're leaning towards?
Of course he
does.
I
think the Charlo fight is probably the front runner right now. I mean, you know, I spoke to Eddie Reynoso last week. Obviously, they wanted to fight Dimitri Bivol. We couldn't get that one over the line just yet. So they're looking at other options. You saw Badu Jack come out and say it's not going to be me this time in September. I don't think Saudis have a date for them in September either. It's very fast to move at that pace.
Badu Jack said other things, Eddie. Can you please touch on what he said, saying that they want him to fight 20 pounds under the 200 pound limit, and they want to drain him? I mean, that those
rehydration clause.
Yeah,
as well.
No. I wasn't involved in those discussions, but at the end of the day, Canelo's a 168 pound fighter. So if he's asked to fight 180 pounds, I don't think that's overly unreasonable. Like, you can't criticize Canelo for asking a cruiserweight who used to box at super middleweight to come down in weight 5 pounds over the light heavyweight. Like you can't just expect Saul to go, yeah, I'll fight you at 200 pounds. I mean, he's going to be like, he couldn't even weigh more than 180 pounds, even if he tried. So he would be giving up 20 pounds, probably 30 pounds in the ring. Like you can't. Come on, like
I agree.
I know everyone loves to criticize Sal, but you can't. You can't. It's dangerous. So he's willing to step up to 175 to fight these guys like Bivol and Kovalev, etc. But you can't be stepping up to 200 or 190 or something like. Just becomes insane. Like it actually shouldn't be allowed. Right. So I think Charlo is the front runner for September perhaps, and we're looking at other options for him for January and February and May as well.
Wow. Okay.
All right. So before we get out of here, Edgar Berlanga, he's making his Matchroom debut. Big fight in MSG. As you said, he's a draw. People come out for him. Look, Quigley is not a soft touch, right? It's going to be a tough fight, I guess, to some degree. But we expect Edgar to shine. This is a showcase fight in his hometowns. What do you have planned for him next? Will he fight again in 2023? And is it going to be a big name?
Yeah, we want to keep him active. I mean, look, firstly, we're hyping Edgar Berlanga up like he's the new Canelo Alvarez, right? I mean, if he's not, he's going to be in for a very tough fight on Saturday night against Quigley. Quigley's right up for it. We know Quigley's not an elite super middleweight, but he's a world-class fighter. He's going to have a lot of support in there. So let's see what Edgar can show on Saturday. There's also a lot of pressure. I mean, there was a lot of pressure on Regis on Saturday. All of a sudden, all the promotion, the hype, the hometown fight, all this kind of stuff. So we'll see if Edgar can rise to it. If he's below par, he'll struggle against Quigley. And if he struggles against Quigley, he's not ready for the big names in the division. If he goes in and makes a statement and take this guy out, then we can start looking at big fights towards October, November. But I think we move, Quigley's a top 15 guy. If he comes through him well, a top 10, top 5 guy. And then we want to push for that Canelo Alvarez fight next May. It'll be a big fight, but he's got to prove himself that he's worthy of that. Listen, I also love Berlanga against Jaime Munguia. What a great fight that is.
Yes.
Berlanga against Gennady Golovkin. Berlanga against John Ryder. There's so many big fights out there for him to prove that he's worthy of the Canelos and the Benavidez's and all those fights. But listen, this kid's a star. You're going to see a massive crowd on Saturday. You've got Adam Konaki back in a good fight. You've got Reshat Matis in a tremendous fight as well. It's going to be a great atmosphere at the Garden. And it's all on Edgar Berlanga. He's got the platform. Let's see it.
Well, we'll be around.
Yeah, the place is going to be packed.
So we'll see you later this week. Thanks for taking the time, Eddie.
Cheers, boys. See you soon.
All right, take care.
Introducing the new DAZN Boxing Show podcast. No matter the time or the place, getting your boxing content has become easier than ever. Tune in as we give you exclusive insights, predictions, fight night recaps, and more alongside the biggest names in the game. All for free. Available globally every Thursday across all audio streaming platforms and with new episodes dropping weekly to give you the latest news. Just type in the DAZN Boxing Show podcast, listen in, and enjoy.